This segment is brought to you by JigMasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to JigMasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
Welcome to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. This is the final cast segment with your hosts Brad Hicks and Josh Eldridge, where we cast our final opinions on all products good and bad. Welcome to the final cast. You're listening to the final cast on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. I'm your host, Brad, and tonight, Brian Schiller is filling in for Josh. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you been?
Pretty good. Not too bad for being shut in. So
Yeah. Well, you've been out fishing.
Yeah, I've been fishing a few times this week.
There's a few hosts that have been out fishing, and I see the group chat, and I just want to reply with a bunch of middle fingers, but, I don't know.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
It's all good. I might be going tomorrow too. So
yeah, well, the weather's
to...
been goofy up here. We had snow on like Sunday or Monday, and then today was like 60. So
yeah,
can't win, dude.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah,
well,
buddy.
We have an episode today with some pro staffers of Nucanoe. So we're going to be talking about the Pursuit and the Frontier 12. So I'm going to introduce Matt Gibson and Jeff Skinner. How you guys doing?
What's up?
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Good.
So let's start this off by you letting the listeners know who you are, what you do for Nucanoe, and how you got into the whole pro staff thing. Let's start with Matt.
So I'm regional director for the for Team Nucanoe out of the Great Lakes region. I've always liked the open concept and kind of how the Nucanoes were laid out. Became an owner, and then not too long after that became a member of Team Nucanoe about, it's probably been 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. And then moved my way up to the regional director up here. So
That's pretty cool. What about you, Jeff?
It's Jimmy. You keep calling him Jeff.
Jimmy Skinner?
Jimmy Skinner. Correct?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm losing y'all here and there. That's my fault, probably.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
But no,
I called you Jeff.
I was gonna straighten it out in a second, but we're good.
Yeah. Straighten it out, man. Straighten out means he's taking a drive to Ohio,
It's because I know a Jeff Skinner, man. That's why.
No, I got into Nucanoes probably late 2018 when the Flint first came out, and like Matt said, I really liked the open concept, so I got one of the very first runs of it that I think was actually one of the original demo boats, and loved it, and then bought a Pursuit secondhand not too long after that, and then I got on Hook One Outfitters pro staff team actually on January 1st of this year, and they had me come work on one of their fishing expos, and I met Mike Schmidt, who's the Central regional director, and we sold a bunch of Nucanoes that weekend, and he reached out to me and asked me if I'd want a spot on the team this year, and here I am. It's been great so far. Bunch of good guys out there.
Heck yeah.
So, what drove you to Nucanoe exactly? What caught your eye?
The open deck, the weight. I don't like a lot of kayaks that have a lot of the, like, not knocking on bona fide, but just like the eye catcher things, like this pod does that, this seat does that. I like it real basic, real open.
Mm-hmm.
And stability, and even though I pedal now, I like a boat that paddles really well. And the Flint and the Pursuit that I had first, probably some of the best paddling boats I ever had. And then just the ability to really do whatever I wanted with it. I can put a motor on it, I can put a torpedo on it, I can put the pedal system in it. So, and it's 5 minutes, I can take it all back out and paddle it again.
That's awesome. I'm glad you brought up the drive for that, the pivot drive, right?
Yeah, pivot drive.
Okay. Have you guys both used it?
Yeah, I have one now.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you guys kind of go over a little bit what it is and how it works? I've seen them, but I don't know exactly how they work.
Matt, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So it's as Jimmy was talking about, everything with our boats are modular, so we can bolt things on, bolt things off of the kayak. So this is a pedal system that has a tower up front and like a almost like a bicycle type of system up there that goes in. It drives a belt. From the belt, it goes into a gear that goes to the back of the kayak, and that's kind of where the drive actually sits, and that's where the prop is. It's incredibly smooth because we're belt driven on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
We have instant reverse with it. There's no fumbling with that at all. Even though it's at the back of the kayak, if you hit something or need to pull it up, it comes up with ease. And yeah, it's super smooth. It's really nice because as Jimmy was talking about, if I want to go hit the river or hit some shallows here in Indiana, I can just take that right off within 5-10 minutes, go and have a completely open kayak from there, and be able to go out and fish and enjoy my day on the river. Or I can, if I'm lake fishing, I can throw the pivot drive on and take it to the lake and pedal around and be super efficient on the water.
Yeah, I know, working for a dealer that sells new canoes, I mean, that's the huge selling point is the modular setups, the bolt-on, take-off, and especially, the one thing I will say is Nucanoe has like a whole lineup of accessories to bolt on, from dashboards to the pivot drive, bow mount trolling motors, like dashboards. There's like a storage thing. They even have a duck blind with a layout seat. Like,
Wow.
I mean, shotgun bow holder. Like, they got a lot of cool little things that you could throw on and take off that boat in just a matter of a thumb screw,
Yeah, we have a lot of track on all of our kayaks too. The Frontier has a ton of track on it. The Pursuit does as well, and even down for a smaller boat like the Flint, it still has a lot of track space on it for you to be able to plug in rod holders, whatever you need to plug in right there into the rail system.
Yeah.
So this pedal drive, is it can you put it on any of the models?
So the tower's a little bit different depending on the model, as well as the cable that drives it.
Mm-hmm.
But any of our kayaks you can buy a pivot drive for.
Okay. So not one fits all. That's what I was kind of asking.
Yeah.
Right. I got you.
But no matter what year Nucanoe you own, it'll work on it. Any of the previous models, Frontiers, Pursuits, Flints, it'll bolt right up to it.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, like I've said, I've seen videos of these things, and I never really knew how they work, so it's kind of interesting I'm kind of looking at a picture right now and
it's
get.
Definitely outside of the box with the belt-driven style system to the drive shaft. That's what makes it, like Matt was saying, it's super smooth. I hadn't got to try one until I actually picked mine up Friday night, put it together at Hook One, drove all the way back to Birmingham, and then took it out the next day. And I mean, it's so smooth. Like, you find things that you feel like are wrong with it because you've been in other drives, and then you realize you're just not used to something that actually works like it's supposed to. It's sad, but because you're steering with the propulsion, it steers. I've been in a lot of pedal drive boats and a lot of boats with rudders, and my Frontier literally will turn on a dime, and like if you're fishing heavy current and like you're fishing parallel to the bank and you get out of position, you can literally just rip the steering handle down, kick the pedal twice, and you're back on course and don't even have to think about it anymore.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I was curious about that reverse steering. I mean, I've seen the pivot drive a couple times. I've never used it or anything like that, but I was curious as how that plays a factor, having that prop actually doing the steering versus a rudder. I mean, And I agree with you 100%. I mean, I'm a Jackson guy through and through, and like sometimes your turning isn't as efficient as it could be because that rudder just doesn't turn a proper way or doesn't push enough water as you're trying to maneuver that turn, so to speak. So I get what you're saying on that, man. And that's one thing that I thought was kind of unique with that drive is that it, not only is it propped up in the back, but it's actually doing the steering as well.
Yeah. It's definitely outside of the box for real. It's crazy.
Heck yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna ask the cable for the steering. Is it like ran to something like a handle type rudder?
Yeah, it's a vertical handle that mounts on the left gunnel, and it's just I'm trying to remember. I think it's you pull it back for left, forward for right, and then it's a concealed shaft and a shielded cable that's got multiple mounts that hold it in all the way back, and then you just clip it onto the drive with like a quick connect.
Mm-hmm.
And one positive thing about that I love is, like, I came from a native Titan, and on a Titan, you constantly have to be on the rudder handle.
Yeah.
Because of the cable design of this steering cable, it's got enough tension to it that when you set it straight, you can just let go of it and keep pedaling, and you're just going to continue straight. You know what I mean? If you get cross current,
I understand.
That's different, but
yeah. And we're starting to use that handle on a few other things like torpedo setups. We have an EPS system, motor system that we came out with, and we're using that same exact handle because we like it so much. And as Jimmy alluded to, it's very efficient and very easy to use, and you mash it, and I mean, there's instant response from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how that whole system allows you to turn better, go straighter, as opposed to having a rudder. So that makes sense now.
Yeah, and the one thing I wanted to say, because Jimmy mentioned like that pivot drive will go in all the old boats, and it definitely will. But like the newer, I think it started 2020 models, right, where they have the insets for that rudder handle on the left gunnel wall. Older boats, you just have to do a track mount or just screw it straight into the boat or something like that.
It comes with it comes with a kit.
Okay.
The pivot drive comes with a kit that has it right there in it with it. And if you don't need to use it, you just toss it. But if you need to use it, it's included with the pivot drive.
Very cool.
That is pretty cool.
Well, one of the things that absolutely blew me away with pivot drive is the ability to fish in the wind. So the other day I had the wind at my back, and I needed to be in that wind to be in kind of the target area for me to be fishing. And it was literally just a very, very slow back pedal into the wind. And man, I stayed right there, especially for a 13.5-foot kayak. Like, I wasn't getting blown around at all. It kept me right there in position very easily.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So
wait a minute, Jimmy, you drinking a Corona during the Rona? Yeah,
that's
nice. I've been making that joke all week, man. Should be drinking Coronas, fighting the Corona. Instead I'm drinking coffee. Sorry.
Now, I think we hit on the pivot drive pretty well. Move along and talk about the bow mounting options that Nucanoe offers. What exactly is like everybody? What makes everybody gravitate towards Nucanoe with the bow mounting trolling motors? What makes it so special?
I would think it's just the ease of mounting it. I mean, it's one bracket and motor mount kit from us, and then the motor guide motor if that's the motor you choose, and then you can get a quick disconnect bracket from them as well. So where you just pull a pin and you take the drive off and you can put it up, and then the motor install kit. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but doesn't it come with the plug and play setup?
It does not. You have to. That's a different package.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you basically you take the 2 screws out of the handle in the front of the kayak. That's 2 of your bolts for your mount for your trolling motor, and you put one up front, one hole in the front that you can easily get to through the hatch. And I mean, you're mounted up and ready to go. That's as easy as it gets. It's very, very simple to install and take off.
Does it replace the front handle, or does the front handle go back on?
It replaces it, but you can also put the handle. I don't know if you've seen Derek Brundle's video where he actually reattaches his handle on the front of the motor mount.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but I was curious about that.
Yep.
I think I just saw somebody with, I don't remember what model it was, but they had a motor guide on the front. I think they put two handles under the bolts. I don't know if you guys seen that or not.
I have not.
I can't remember who I saw it, but it looked interesting. I was like, oh, that's a good idea.
I'll tell you, I'll be honest, man. I wasn't about electric motors. You know, I'm more grassroots. I'm a paddling kind of guy, and pedaling's still new for me, really. But I fished that Bass Nation event on Logan Martin, and I ran into Cody Milton right after he got on our team, and we were in like 4 mile an hour current, and he had a 55-pound XI3 on, and he was going by me, and I said, hey, and he pressed a button, and it whipped around and held him in current, and we sat there and talked for like 5 minutes with me just steadily paddling.
He talked about that on another podcast, and he said he was going 8 mile an hour downstream with the current or something with the motor.
They did a 12-mile float.
That's crazy. Yeah, he couldn't have done it without that motor. That's crazy.
A lot of people talking about Milton's setup from that event, man. I mean, a lot of people were blown away, and I know one of our hosts, and I know Jimmy knows him. He was just like, I think I need a new canoe now.
he was with me.
Yeah.
I just had a trolling motor thrown on the back of my Pursuit. I actually was borrowing a Pursuit while I was waiting on my new boats to come in. And, you know, we decided to put in pre-fishing and go upstream, like not even a mile. And cutting across the river was, you know, I know that was a workout for his legs. And I just set the trolling motor on high and pointed. And then Cody passed us, and he was like, man, I'm jealous. And then
I'll tell you what.
Up and was like, what's up on them new canoes, man?
I'll tell you what. I wouldn't have been able to do that in my kayak. That's for sure.
I mean, I was running I think it was a 40-pound thrust Minn Kota, and I was still, when he was like, let's cut across the river, I was like, okay, let's go for it.
That's cool.
That's interesting too. You bring up that you had it mounted in the back. I think that's a unique feature about Nucanoe as well, is the transom mount in the back. Like all their boats, all 4 of them have a flat back, so you can mount a trolling motor back there. I know a good friend of mine, he's got a Frontier 12 guy I started the podcast with, and he bought a 55-pound thrust trolling motor with a little extended tiller handle, you know.
Yeah.
And he rocked that for a long time, man, and that was slick. And that was one of the things that drove him to Nucanoe, was because of the ease of mounting that and then taking it off, and then, you know, like we talked about before, pulling the pivot drive in and out, like go fish a lake, go fish a river, you know. I mean, that right there, you know, the simplicity and the uniqueness of being able to switch between all the different styles of power or paddle or pedal driven, I think is what really makes Nucanoe very unique.
Yep.
Yeah, that Honda on the back's pretty awesome too. Honda Outboard.
Yeah, don't lie. The other day you had that thing on, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Have either of you guys tried that out?
I have not.
If I try it out, I won't paddle or pedal ever again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a Johnny boat then, in that have a motor on the back like that,
but probably way faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know some guys here. You know, they're actually using that to push up river and then floating back down. So they're getting their Honda 2.3 going up river and then just floating down.
That's crazy.
Just extends the range so much for those guys. You know, they're going way, way, way up river and having a really nice day and being able to float down.
You don't know what the fuel range is on that Honda 2.3, do you?
I don't, but I mean, I don't think it hardly uses anything.
No, I was wondering for comparison because I know when I talked to Cody, he's got a 100 amp hour Dakota lithium battery, and he said he can get 25 miles and not be conservative with the motor.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is nuts.
Those batteries are awesome, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
we could do a whole nother episode on one of those, I'm sure. So, do you have anything else, Brian, on the motor or?
No, not on the propulsion.
Okay. Let's go into the Frontier 12, right? Is that what we're going to talk about, right?
Yep.
I didn't pull it up. Yeah, Frontier 12 and the Pursuit. Yeah, let's start off with the Frontier 12. What's some of your guys' favorite features of that boat? Start with Matt.
Oh, just the stability of it. I mean, it's amazing. That's actually that was my first Nucanoe, was a Frontier 12. And for a bigger guy like myself, I'm 6'5", 275. Like it's incredible how much confidence you get out on the water. Even a guy my size being able to just pop up, stand up, and fish. But just it's so easy getting in and out of the seat too because of the seat height, and then just the wide open deck. There's a lot of deck on that boat, being 41 inches wide. So there's a lot of deck there for you to put whatever you need to. You can take as much tackle as you need to. I mean, it's got a max weight of 650 pounds. So you can take a lot of stuff with you.
Well, not only that, but that boat you could rig up tandem as well.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Oh yeah. So the Godfather, aka Scott, him and I went out in his Frontier 12 tandem with the trolling motor and a lead acid battery, a couple rods. And me and him are not light on our feet. And dude, it worked. And it was cool. But I mean, that Frontier 12, man, is super stable. I mean, I've stood on the gunnel walls of that thing and it won't flip over.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, 41 inches wide. That's ridiculous.
It's kind of intimidating when you first see one, because
Yeah.
like I thought my Titan was wide, and when you see my
Yeah.
boat sitting on a trailer, you're like, well, you don't need all of that. But
Yeah.
I use the Frontier it's going to be my tournament boat this season. And
Nice.
I took it out Saturday, and I decided just to take everything I would possibly ever take with me to see if it all fit. And you can still get up and walk around. And I mean, I've got my 7-inch graph like right by the seat, but I can still put 4 or 5 rods in front of me. I've got 4 or 5 rods behind me. Just, I use a big, trying to remember what it is. It's a rigid waterproof toolbox that I repurposed to make a crate out of because I wanted a waterproof tackle storage. And so it's a little bigger than a black pack, but so I've got all that back there, a cooler, a dry bag, everything. I got the hatch loaded down with stuff, and it still probably was only drafting like 4 or 5 inches in the water.
Yep.
And I even, I don't have the right size paddle right now because I had a little mishap with my paddle flying out of my boat when I was hauling it. And so I'm using like a blown or 240 centimeter bending branches paddle on a boat that's 41 inches wide.
Wow.
And I still tried paddling it Saturday, and it paddled fine. And like you were saying about it in the wind, I was on a wheeler, and we were having wind switching directions like every 30 seconds, blowing 15 every time it moved. And it's a big boat, so of course it's going to move in the wind, but it's so easy and so fast to correct. It doesn't.
Interesting.
It's so reactive too. Like you get that boat in the river and you dip a paddle in the nose. I mean, it moves right. There's no delay with it for as big a boat as it is and wide as it is. If you dip a paddle, I mean, it moves. The nose straightens right out. It's pretty easy to paddle for as big as it is.
I'm ready to put it back up against the Pursuit to see, because I honestly think it steers better than my Pursuit does, or my Pursuit did.
You guys stole some of my questions. I was going to ask about how easy it was to paddle.
Well, I think the interesting thing, the most interesting thing about the Frontier when you're talking about the width, is it's got to be one of the lightest, widest boats on the market.
77.
Yeah, 77, right? Without the seat or with the seat?
I think that's without.
73 hull weight without the without seat.
Okay. So that's a thing, man. Like, my buddy Scott, he would roof rack his on a Nissan Maxima, and I always used to tell him it was the coolest Maxima going down the road, you know. But that was a thing, and real quick, going back to the tandem setup, like from a consumer standpoint, when consumers come into the shop, like the big thing for some guys, the dads, is they're like, I want a boat that I could rig up tandem but also go solo. And like Nucanoe, I think, is the only one on the market where you could do that, like go double or solo, right? There's nothing that comes to mind that you can set up like that.
No,
I
I
don't-
can't
I'm
think
not
of
sure.
anything.
You know,
I know
so
it reminded me of Josh because he wants to do that with his son.
right. And
Well, another option that they have, you like on the Frontier, you can go as far as the dual swivel seats, but Nucanoe also makes a junior seat, which is more like just a bench seat.
yeah,
And you can, I think it's made for the Frontier, but I've seen one on a Pursuit also.
yeah.
I mean, the Pursuit's got like a 450 or 500 pound capacity itself.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All these hold that much weight just because of the width of the kayak too, right? Is that how it's built?
I don't think it's not necessarily just the width. I think it's the length and the hull design as well.
Yeah,
Right.
a lot of hull design into it. Yep.
Yeah, because like you said a little bit ago, this is one of the only kayaks you'll see where it's that wide and 12 foot long and only 77 pounds. It kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, and I know, like, going back to the paddling, like one of the unique features that Nucanoe did on that Frontier 12 was a skeg in the back. They have a big skeg in the bottom that's molded into the boat, and that really helps for tracking.
I gotcha.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Nucanoe guys.
They all have
A skeg, right?
it's
It's kind of like
you could call it that, but it's really just like the keel's just beefed up back there on the.
that was the word I was looking for. Keel. It's got this big keel in the back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Skeg.
Yeah, it's pretty
skeg
wide.
drops down. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
No,
gotcha.
yeah, all their boats track. I mean, even the Flint, it's 11'3". It's really narrow, but for it to be a river boat, it doesn't like not knocking on the Jacksons. I still tell most people that the original Coosa is one of the best moving water boats there is, but the Coosa has a problem with walking when you paddle it, and the Flint barely moves when you're
Mhm.
getting a good paddle stroke going.
Yeah, it's in that sweet spot too. I think like the 12-foot range is like the perfect like mixture of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those guys that don't want a 12-foot kayak, the F10, its little brother, it's a pretty impressive little kayak, man. It's got a max weight capacity of 500 pounds in a 10-foot kayak. That's pretty incredible. It's 39 inches wide.
What's the weight on that one?
62 pounds, so it's actually lighter than
Wow.
the Flint.
That's
You
pretty
got a
sweet.
cheat sheet in front of you, or are you remembering this off the top of your
I
head?
mean,
Hey, dude, I remember all the bona fide specs too. So.
I know most of them.
we're not.
I
that
never
far
remember
off
the
of,
F10. I never remember the F10.
We're not that far off of show season, so
Yeah,
it's still
Yeah.
kind of
fresh in the brain. Yep,
That's
I
true.
hear you. I hear you.
So I don't think we got your favorite features of the F12, Jimmy. What are your favorite features?
I mean, Matt covered them. Super wide, real open. I love that you've got track, front to back.
Mhm.
Something I like on this one is so the Pursuit has a hatch tub that you can take out. The F12 has a bag that's like a
Mhm.
waterproof, or not, I don't want to say waterproof, but it's got a weather seal so water doesn't get in the hole. And I didn't think I would like that at first, but I seem to like it a lot more now that I've been using it. I thought I was just going to take it out and throw it out, but just like Matt said, though, I don't know. I wanted a bigger platform just for tournament fishing, but I could still take down small moving water if I want to. And I don't see, after using it Saturday, I don't see a problem with taking it anywhere I want to. I still have a flint. I bought another new flint, but I think our first creek trip is in 3 weeks, and I'm probably going to take the F12 with pivot drive. I think I'll be able to use the drive to stay in the current, in the eddies and stuff like that.
I gotcha.
Like
That's cool. What is this the boat Cody Milton uses?
No.
No, he uses the Pursuit, right?
Yeah, he's got the Pursuit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll get to that question when we go over that boat. But I was gonna ask about the storage space up front. It looks like there's a little hatch up here. You guys go into that a little bit. What all can you store inside of there?
You can actually, Matt's probably a lot more stuff in his. He's had his longer, but I was surprised. I took the hatch bag out, and you've got plenty of room for, like, you could stick one of those lithium batteries up there to run your motor guide a lot easier and still have more room. I've got I think it's a 32-liter dry bag backpack that will slide right down in there. I'm sure if you're using, medium heavy action or lighter action rods, you could bend those down and get them in the hole. I haven't tried that yet. Have you?
I have not. You probably could though. Yep.
I'll try this weekend. I usually
There
store
you
my
go.
rods in my boat, so.
Yeah, I do too. I'm in a bonafide and sliding rods inside the boats, like, simple. And I like to always ask everybody that question because I'm just curious.
I got burned on it just because I've had them slide all the way to the other end of the boat.
Yeah.
Been there,
Yep.
done that.
Yeah.
Yep. I've had that happen with rod stocks and paddles.
You got to go to the other end and, like, lift the back end of the boat and shake it above your head to get it to come back down.
When I sold my Titan to my buddy, I told him that there's a rod sock in the keel if he can get to it. He took the hatch out.
That's awesome.
And there, I couldn't find it, and I told him if he finds it, it's his.
Threw a little something in there extra for you, but you got to go on a treasure hunt to find it.
That's
I like
right.
it. I like it.
That reminds me of John Graves buying Kurt Smith's old Hobie. He took off the bottom plate under there, and, like, he found a bunch of soft plastics in there, and he's like, sweet, this has good mojo. That's
Very
pretty cool. All right, so let's move on to the Pursuit. Let's go over some of your guys' favorite features again on this boat, and kind of compare it to the F12, I guess, if you can. Let's go ahead and start with Matt.
Yeah, so Pursuit's kind of the tournament ready, tournament setup, like kind of ultimate paddling kayak. You get a lot of the same features in that it's still a wider boat, 36 inches wide. So it's still pretty wide, but you still have the open deck space completely in front of you. You can stand in it, still plenty of stability. The primary stability is a little bit different on that kayak just because it's not as wide, but it's still very, very stable. I can stand up in mine and then fish if I need to. But built-in rod tubes, having those rod tubes, that's huge for me. We were talking about transporting rods. I actually don't take mine out of my kayak. I put them in those rod tubes. We got a little strap that comes across them. Put them in there, throw it in the truck, and take off. It paddles and it handles really, really well. It's a really, really underrated river boat. It handles the river really well. I was fortunate enough this past year to get down the Flint River down in Georgia, and I am very, very pleased that I had my Pursuit on that trip for sure.
Flint River, that's where the Flint was designed, correct?
That's it.
Yeah, buddy. See, I know some history here.
Yeah, there you go.
That crossed my mind too.
Come on, Meow.
If you've never been, it's amazing.
I've heard it's beautiful, man.
If nothing else, it's a beautiful paddle.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd love to get down there. Like I've said in past episodes, I've only been out of Ohio like 10 times in my life.
Brad lives a very sheltered life.
I'm stuck on the Ohio rivers here.
That's okay too.
You
But-
come down here to the south and get on some of our waters, or get on some of them slack waters in Tennessee, you probably wouldn't go back.
I guarantee you I wouldn't go back. I keep telling my wife I want to go south, but she doesn't want to. So, Jimmy, let's go over your favorite features on the Pursuit here.
My favorite was the horizontal rod holders. He hit that, man. That's getting everything out of your way, not having to worry about how you cast behind you or anything. That was a huge one. And like you said, with it being underrated, man, I have a good buddy here, Blake, that for the long time that was the only boat he had, and we'd go do the moving water trips. And the Pursuit's 13.5 foot long, so it's a lot of boat. And we thought at first, we was like, man, that's not gonna do too well on these skinny rivers or these hard turns, and it does perfectly fine. I mean, it paddles so well. Like he fished the state championship here in Alabama last year on the Coosa River, and he took it down a class 3. Now he's got whitewater experience, but like he said, he didn't even check up and think about it. He just went for it and said it did fine. So
That's cool.
I dig it.
And like you said, the primary stability is a little different, but something I tell everybody whenever they get into any of the new canoes is it's a different stability, but they all have it. You got to give it more than one like couple hours or 5-minute trip. Like the Flint, I actually did a video today in my Flint, standing and flipping it. I mean, it's not.
You cut out.
The Flint, just with the stability being a lot better than most would think. You give yourself a couple minutes in it, and then like I was saying, I was standing today flipping and punching in the wind and not shaky at all. It's just you get used to it. It just takes a minute.
I gotcha.
Yeah, I'll say when I demoed the Pursuit, I paddled it out, stood up in it, and I thought it was kind of shaky. And then I went in and I jumped in a Bonafide SS127, paddled that around, and obviously Bonafide's fairly stable. And then I went back out in the Pursuit, and I was like, it was almost like it seemed more stable. I was like, was it just me? Like I needed to get my sea legs or what? And it really threw me off. Like Matt said, that primary doesn't kick in right away, or maybe it's the secondary that just doesn't kick in right away. But once it does, you're like, oh, there it is.
It's locked, man.
Yeah. But that boat paddles super fast, man. For 13.5 feet, it reminds me of a touring kayak. But I mean, with that boat being so big, man, it just rips right through the water with ease compared to the Frontier 12 for sure.
Oh yeah. Before I got in the Pursuit, I was in an Allure 11.5.
Okay, yeah.
And then I made the mistake of borrowing my buddy's Pursuit, and I wasn't exhausted at the end of the trip.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yep, definitely time for a change. So
this is what it should be like.
The cool thing about this kayak is it's shaped like a traditional kayak, but it's a sit-on top, and I think that's probably why it paddles so well, and it looks like it's super fast. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah. No, it is. It's really fast, and it tracks really, really well too. I mean, you can paddle it pretty hard, and then just kind of drift, and it's very, very straight drifting boat too.
Yeah, cool. I think I could get just, not really paddling hard with all of my gear. I can usually average 3.2 to 3.5 with ease.
And that's not bad.
I can do that spot to spot, a mile. It's not, you don't really notice.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I'm getting about 2.9 to 3.2 maybe when I paddle, and I'm probably putting a little bit more effort, I'm imagining, but
yeah, it's
all good. So these rod tubes, I keep hearing everybody talk about them. How many do you guys have in the boat?
So there's four horizontal and 2 verticals in the Pursuit.
Okay, the verticals are behind the seat.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good spot. A lot of times that's where I'll put like a follow up. Like I'll be throwing a frog. I'll put a soft plastic rod right there, and it's an easy grab back and cast right back in there.
Yeah, these rod tubes are really cool. I always like that because when I'm transporting and stuff, I like to slide my rods in the hull. That's like a different option, like you mentioned earlier. I also heard on another podcast that Cody Milton was storing 6 rods on both sides.
I think he was storing more than that, if I remember.
How exactly is he doing that?
He's stacking them in there.
Yeah.
Oh, is he? With rod sleeves, I'm guessing then?
Maybe. I didn't. When I would carry 8 in mine without rod sleeves. I'd put 2 in each tube and then 2 behind me, so 10 total.
Wow. That's impressive.
You wrap your line around your guides when you put your rod up, and then they slide right in and out with ease.
Yeah.
That's
and then
impressive.
The butts then sit kind of right beside where your seat is. There's kind of like almost like a molded rod ramp right there. And it's got 2 slots in it, and your rod just the butts just sit right down the net.
And you can kind of stage them offset because the tubes go all the way to the front of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So you can literally put a 7-foot rod in there and it'd be almost a foot in front of you. So you can stage them back that way.
Okay. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I know, like, me, I'm a river guy. I don't like my rods sticking straight up. So I try to lay them.
Trees.
No, I hate trees. Dude, every time I get caught in a tree, dude, I just cringe, and then I'm like, please don't break my rod. And I look behind me, I'm like, oh, we're good. All right. But I always try to lay mine horizontal as possible, and that I kind of run into an issue with that as well because you're hitting banks and stuff still doing it that way. But that's a cool feature. I like that.
I wish all of our Nucanoe boats had it. That's the one thing I miss on the Frontier is it's got rod tip stagers and you can lay your rods down in the boat, but the rod tubes are just, you can't beat that. They're awesome.
Yeah, and with the open deck too, I mean, you can stage rods in front of you, especially with with one of the drawers and a bullwinkle on top. I mean, you can stage 2 or 3 rods underneath you pretty easy.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sitting here looking at the picture. It looks like right in front of you, but behind the hull, there's like a flat space right there. Is this
behind the hatch?
Yeah, right behind the hatch.
Yeah, that's where you can mount like the drawer. That's where I've seen the buddy seat, the junior seat.
Okay.
When someone did it on that, they had the seat there, and their kid just put their feet in the front hatch area.
Oh, okay, I got you.
You can get the drawer system that goes there, mounts across the track, and then you've got a drawer on a slide that you can. I had it on mine, and you could like when I would do a small water trip, I could get all of the tackle I needed for that trip in that drawer with a small terminal tackle box, and then take 4 rods with me laying down, and then you have nothing behind you or all the room in the world for a big cooler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think a battery box will even fit in that little nook right there, and then it's got the rails on the side as well, so you could strap it down.
Yep.
Yeah, the Yak Attack tie downs or something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, where are you guys mounting your fish finder on this?
Go ahead, man.
So you can do it a couple different ways. So I like mine pretty close to me. So I'll actually mount my depth finder, fish finder right kind of on the right side of my seat in the rail. And then I'll run, like a switchblade. So I've got a console up front, what Jimmy was talking about. And it's got a small rail on it. So that's where I run my transducer off of there. A lot of guys run that magnetic mount. And they'll run it on the side of the kayak right there. But again, I like mine pretty close, so I put it kind of close to my seat.
So, this model's not showing any tracks on the side. I'm kind of confused.
It actually right where the seat is,
It's the same track that the seat rides in.
Yep. Okay, I got you. So, are you the seat mounts in those tracks, and then are you mounting like under the seat and having it come up the side of the seat?
No, I'm just putting it on an arm, in that same rail.
Oh, okay,
and bringing it up.
I got you. That's kind of cool.
I just like it right there, especially if I'm paddling or something. I can just briefly look down at it, hit a waypoint if I need to, and keep paddling or whatever I need to do.
I'm sorry, I'm a Nucanoe noob.
No.
Like I said, I don't think I've ever seen one of these in person.
You need to check them out, man.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, they look cool. Where you mounting your fish finder? Same spot?
When I had my Pursuit, mine actually mounted on that dashboard with the drawer, because I've got a 7-inch screen, so from where I kept the seat position, I could see it real easily.
Mm-hmm.
And even like with the stability, if I decided to do like vertical fishing, like drop shotting or jigging a spoon, I could just stand up and then flip the screen straight up and just look straight down at it and fish off the side with no trouble. And then on the Frontier is where I did what Matt's talking about. I mounted it right by the seat, just because I'm not going to.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys have a spot for transducers, or you just have to use a switchblade, or?
Yeah, a switchblade or ram mount, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the magnetic transducer mounts.
Okay. Yeah, I heard you mention that earlier.
Yep. Those are nice because if you kind of forget, that magnet will actually slide down the boat a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
The only reason I haven't messed with one of those is I get into thick stuff a lot, and I just be afraid that transducer is going to just be dangling off somewhere and me not notice.
Yep.
And I've been playing around with the ram mount this go around, because I've mounted it off on the Pursuit. I've mounted it off the dashboard, and then I've done it by the seat. And with the Frontier, I've moved it all the way to the back, completely out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm toying with screen positions left or right or forward. And then I'm going to do that new Yak Attack through whole thing and hide all the wires and clean it up real good.
Dude,
Nice.
Those things are awesome, by the way. I got a couple of them for my dry pod. They work really, really nice.
I'm glad somebody continued with the not having to have a backing nut. Like,
yeah,
you can't get to that on most boats.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy, because I was about to have a guy 3D print them when they released them. And I was like, okay, good.
It's cool because the way they sit inside the ring like that, you tighten up the screws, it just like kind of like squishes it all together and creates that watertight seal.
And that's a really old school design of the gasket with a 2-piece. Like, I'm an electrician, and we do like pool lights, and that's how you seal the pool light housing, is a 2-piece grommet like that, and pressure just keeps it watertight. It's a super simple design, and it'll work perfect. I mean, you can't mess it up, in my opinion. Like, anybody could throw that on there.
Yeah, it's real easy. So, I think we covered the boats pretty well, Brian. What, you got anything else? I mean,
no, not as far as those. You want to hit on the Flint real quick? We got a little bit of time here, man.
Yeah, let's go ahead and hit on the Flint. Let's see here.
Jimmy, you want to go first since you got that boat?
Sure. Well, it's 11 foot. I think it's 11.3 actually.
Yep.
I think it's 63 pounds. It's got the same seat that the Pursuit does. I mean, they all have the same seat itself, but the base is the same as the Pursuit, so it's kind of low to the deck. It's got rod tip stagers in the front. You can they have a dashboard for it now that I just got that I really like. But it's, in my opinion, it's probably probably the top skinny water boat. You can argue that with all your brand guys, but it gives you enough stability and enough space where you can, like, I know guys that straight tournament lake fish out of it with no problems. Pivot drive, electric motor. You got plenty of storage. It's got 4 recessed rod holders behind you at different angles, so you can carry 6 rods with ease on that. And it's stable enough. Like I actually had a 360 seat in my first flint. I have a buddy that's got a picture of me. We were sitting off a point out in the middle of a lake down here in Coleman, and I'm turned sideways, leaning all the way back with my feet hanging off the front, just chilling and fishing. I mean, it's a great boat. It's so easy to paddle. You can cover some water in that boat with ease, and then you can stand and you can flip bushes and skip docks and not worry about falling in.
I want to hear more about this 360 seat.
Well, I was going to bring up too, you guys came out with the Fusion seat as well, which is a 360 seat, correct?
On
Yes,
the on the Frontier models, or you can add that same 360 to the Flint or the Pursuit.
Right.
It's basically a swiveling seat.
How high does it sit?
Oh, I'm actually not sure at that. I want to say it's probably in the 8 inches. All the seat height's probably around 6 to 8 inches off the deck, maybe a little higher.
Oh, that's kind of interesting. I
It's
didn't know they did that.
it's lower than my Titan was, but it's way taller than the Pursuit is, or the Flint for that matter. And it's not a. So like my biggest concern the first time I got a 360 seat was, is it gonna be so loose that when I paddle the seat takes away you use your core to paddle hard.
Yeah.
And it's got enough resistance that you don't walk when you're paddling. I mean, you still sit perfect, but some people like bigger guys don't like to like turn sideways in their seat to turn around to the back. So you can just turn 30 degrees and you're in the back. You can turn all the way around and go to the back of the boat. First thing I did was spin the seat around and walk to the back of the Frontier and it's a nice feature.
That's cool.
Very
I
cool.
didn't know they did that.
The 360 seat is pretty slick, man. I think that's the only seat on the market like that, right? Well, except for the Blue Sky.
Yeah.
That ain't a kayak.
I never said it was a kayak. I just said it was Blue Sky. All right. But yeah, I think that is, I mean, one of the only kayaks with a swivel seat like that, which is pretty unique.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was probably the biggest when I worked at Expo in Tennessee. We had a Frontier 12 there in Thunderstorm, which is the black and white color, and we had it fully rigged out with that 2.3 Honda motor on it, and the motor and the swiveling seat. We sold out of the Frontiers that weekend, and I bet you we didn't sell one to anybody under like 50 years old, and that's no joke. Like old crappie fishermen were coming up and like, I need that, I'll take it. Like it's hilarious.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, the Flint's a great little boat. I think it's totally underrated in its class. Like when you look at the Flint in person, you can tell that a fisherman designed that kayak.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like everything from the hog trough holder to the way it paddles to kind of your seat position, and then the paddle holder. The handle on the sides, they act as a paddle holder, so your paddle actually clips in there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean it's just a super efficient boat, and you get honestly a lot of kayak for the price.
Oh yeah. And now that it comes with the decking kit on it, the basic decking kit.
Yep.
You can't beat that.
Yep.
Yeah, that deck kit on all these kayaks look pretty cool.
Oh yeah. I never thought I needed it until I had it. Now I don't think I could ever not have it.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
Something didn't say on he was saying about the seat position and everything. One thing about all of the boats is you can trim the seat basically anywhere on the deck on all of them. So you can really control how it reacts when you steer, how it drafts on any of them. They all do it. That's a cool feature because I actually, some people just put their seat in one spot and they're done, period. I change mine all the time. according to what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that. I keep my seat in one spot and never mess with it ever again. But yeah, this boat's kind of cool. It's simple. I mean, you don't see very many boats like as simple as this Flint. That's for sure. It seems like they're getting more complicated with the times. But
Yeah.
Exactly. And you can see we won't name any other companies, but if you pay attention in the industry, it seems like a lot of guys are starting to follow the things Nucanoe's been doing the whole time.
yeah.
Shots fired.
Hey now.
It's true though. It is true. I think Old Town kind of did it with the Topwater series, without the PDL, and definitely, Jackson, the U-pick, that nice, simple, easy, open platform.
That's a good looking boat.
Yeah, I mean
It is.
I think Brad nailed it on the head. Like, it just seems like some of these boats are getting too complicated, and you're seeing more and more guys go back to like the simple style of boat where it's just a clean slate and you can set it up exactly the way you pick. See what I did there?
Something that I see that. Yeah. Something that I'm guilty of is like with the Feel Free, great platform, but it gives you a lot, so you add a lot. Same thing with the Bonafide. Almost everybody I know with a Bonafide is it's rigged out as far as you can, and then when you get on the water, you start realizing, like, I don't need any of this. Like, how much of this did I not use today? Like,
yeah, I like the price range of these boats too. It's like we said, a lot of these boats are getting more complicated. They're also getting up there in price.
Yeah.
Right.
And the reason why I got into kayak fishing was because I couldn't afford a bass boat.
Right.
So when I'm seeing these simple designs at like a good price, it's just like, it's a no-brainer. I think there's a lot of people that are going that way and having the same mentality as I have on these boats. I'm not bashing any brands or anything, but man, I know when these brands charge more money like this, it just drives the market up, and it's going to eventually, these lower, I don't want to say lower tier, more simple kayaks, they're going to be what everybody's gravitating towards. They're not going to want to spend the money. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, they're more price point efficient. You're getting a lot of boat for a great price, I think. When you're talking the Nucanoe platform. Yeah, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but those bells and whistles can be added. But that entry level price point, and then you can add all that gizmos and gadgets and stuff like that. And I mean, what's the Frontier at, like $1,600?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Pursuit's a couple hundred more, and then the Flint is $1,000.
Yeah.
And the one thing I was gonna say, shout out to Angler, show sponsor here at Paddle and Fin, and Ketch Products, they teamed up with Nucanoe and they did that smart angler package. So it's got a dashboard with the angler bullseye in it, and then it comes with a catch board and a rod holder and an X grip for your phone.
And it's in a
cool.
limited edition color.
Yeah, the Stinger.
The Stinger.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty slick.
Yeah, I think I saw that on the website when I was scrolling through here. Red and black color?
No,
Black
that's
and
the
yellow.
Bulldog.
Bulldog,
Stinger's
yeah,
black
never
and
mind.
yellow.
Ooh, I like black and yellow.
Yeah. I posted one up. I just threw up all over myself as you grab your pirate shirt.
Are you a Penguins fan too?
Oh, yeah, of course he is.
Yep. Sidney Crosby's the GOAT.
No.
See? Thank you. Matt's like, I don't care, dude. Can we talk about fishing?
We can't go off on a hockey tangent. I can't watch hockey right now. Nobody can.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I can't watch any sports. It sucks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is awful. But we can talk about fishing, so it's all good.
Well, we're winding down here, guys. Why don't we each of you could take a minute to thank whoever you need to thank, but also I always like leaving this question out there. If there's one chunk of advice you can give to a new kayak angler or experienced one, what would that be?
Go ahead, Matt.
So for somebody just starting out, I mean, it can be confusing. There's a lot of options out there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of start at a price point, start researching, and then I always say demo. Get out in these kayaks. Good dealers will have demo days where you can get out and you can actually try the kayak. I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend getting out in the kayak before you purchase it.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't get wrapped up in all the brand bashing and things that are kind of occurring now, and it's an unfortunate part of the kayak community. There's a lot of brand bashing going on out there. There's a lot of great options out there for anybody.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
I'm with you too, man. The brand bashing's stupid.
That's
why I'm doing these. That's why I'm doing these episodes. I mean, I'm on Team Bonafide, but I want these. I want these episodes for people to hear and learn about each brand before they buy.
Yeah.
That's all. I want.
Something that I try to tell people is we have a lot of people in our local club. They don't want to fish our tournaments because of what they're in. It doesn't matter. Get out kayak fishing. I want you to buy a new canoe. I want you to use the boats I use because I like them, and a lot of people like them. But like Matt said, demo. But if buy what you can afford. There was I think it was the Lake Fork tournament. It may have been Lake Norman. I think the guy that got third in that was in an Ascend.
Well, I always use a great example for that. Dusty Yacker, good friend of mine up here. A lot of guys know him from the national tour and last year's national championship. When he first started out, he was fishing the Michigan Kayak Trail out of a Pelican and slaughtered them all.
Yep.
And he talks about how he was very intimidated that first tournament he fished. He showed up in this cheap little boat and he's seen guys in Hobies and Nucanoes, and I don't know if Bonafides were around then, and Jacksons and whatever. And he just crushed it. And he fished that whole series and ended up winning a Hobie at the end of the year. And that's why he's in a Hobie now. So and that kid's won many different boats over the years, but I agree 100%, man. It's, the way I always tell people is what I like, what you like, and the next guy likes is going to be three different things. Like, there is no such thing as a perfect boat. Every boat's got its pros and cons, and you just got to figure out which boat outweighs the cons and what you need and what you're going to do on whatever types of bodies of water you're going to fish. So I think that's solid advice from both of you. Awesome.
So do you guys have anybody you want to thank or where they can follow you on social?
I would like to say one more thing. It's a weird time right now. It's we're going through some odd things, just kind of a society and a community. A lot of our dealers, our local dealers, are having to find creative ways to stay open. I would urge anybody, if you've been thinking about buying an accessory or buying something, support your local guys. They need it really bad right now. Some of them may not open up their doors again, which is very unfortunate. But a lot of them are coming up with some very innovative ways. A lot of them are offering free shipping if you order something. I just a lot of what we do, whether it be kayak fishing tournaments or whatever, is heavily dependent on our local dealers. So get out there and support them, guys. Get out and order something from them.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. I know, the dealer I work for, we're closed down. I know my man Travis was at the shop today, received some orders that came in, but a couple phone calls came in. He's shipping some stuff out. So,
Yep.
You know, and it's all the dealers nationwide. Usually, you know, there's somebody around, man. Just give them a call. If they don't have like an online store or something like that, just give them a call. If they don't answer, leave them a message. Hey, I need this. Can you ship it out? And I guarantee you 10 out of 10 times they are going to call you back and get it out to you, man. And
Yep.
yeah, I mean, and it's I know in our community the kayak shops are very important, but I mean not only that, but when businesses open up, they're gonna need everybody's support. So
Yep.
definitely shop local, support the little guys, man. They're gonna need it. So heck yeah.
Yep.
Final words, anybody?
Yeah, I'll thank Hook One Outfitters for giving me a spot on their team this year and giving me a chance to try and make them look good. And you know, without them, honestly, the Nucanoe thing would have never happened, because that's where I met my regional director and everything. And then thank Nucanoe for giving me a chance this year, and thank my wife for putting up with all of this.
Yeah.
She's a big support, man. She's usually the one that's like, nah, go ahead and buy it.
Nice.
I get that luxury. Most guys don't, but
Yeah. Very
but
cool,
yeah,
man.
if anybody wanted to, you can check my Instagram out, Down South Kayak Fishing. I put up some pictures and stuff there here and there. I'm getting more into keeping up with content and stuff now, playing around with doing video and stuff.
I'm already following you on there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Didn't even know it.
Stalker. You got a stalker.
That's awesome.
Well, I appreciate
How about
it, man.
you, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to thank Nucanoe for the continued support, and also here locally, like Moving Water Outfitters, for not only helping me out but also helping out just the overall kayak community, and supporting us, and as well as like Sun Valley Sports here locally, another great dealer of Hobies. Just want to really thank those guys, and thanks for supporting something that we couldn't do without them.
Yeah, right on. Very cool.
Sweet, man. Good episode. We appreciate you guys coming on and talking Nucanoe with us. Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely.
Listeners, we'll see you guys next week. Everybody have a good Friday and a good weekend, and stay safe.
Y'all too, man.
Yeah, you too.
Go check out the website, guys. paddle_n_fin.com. Also check out YouTube. youtube.com/paddleandfin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest, feel free to email us at paddle_n_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're doing giveaways, announcements, things like that at Facebook and Instagram at paddleandfin. Shout out to our show supporters: Rocktown Adventures, Loveland Canoe and Kayak, Hammered Lures, Fish Mob Lures, TRC Covers, Ketch Products. Go to ketchproducts.com. You can put the Paddle and Fin logo right on your catch board. Don't forget to go over and pick up your JigMasters Jigs. Use promo code PNF20 and save 20% today. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps grow the audience, helps others find our podcast. So please drop a 5-star rating in on the podcast platform you're listening on. Don't forget about the recycled plastics program, you guys. Take your used plastic baits, put them in an envelope, mail them to the address in the show notes. Our man Eric Richards at Hammered Lures melts those down, makes new baits, and donates them to various chapters of Heroes on the Water.